If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. Imagine a world consumed by endless war, where man is reduced to a simple-minded beast, where history is destroyed, rewritten to fit with political narratives, and where revolutions are reduced to crumbling dictatorships. So it goes for the nation of Oceania, a nation founded in violent revolution to liberate the proletariat from the oppression of capitalism. A revolution to install the principles of English socialism, a system now more commonly known as ingsoc. Even so, early in Oceania's history, these principles were not only abandoned, but were abandoned in the name of ingsoc. Instead of equity, the state promoted hierarchy. In place of freedom, they promoted control, with all efforts being made to justify the party, consolidating their power upward into a figure known as Big Brother, the ever-watchful face of the party. And while the exact nature of this figure is not fully known, some suggesting that they are nothing more than a creation of the party, whatever the case may be, there is little distinction between the state and party. The party is Oceania, and Oceania is the party. Their only purpose, maintaining control. To this end, a number of ministries were established. The Ministry of Plenty was responsible for overseeing Oceania's command economy, responsible for the rationing of everything from foodstuffs to razor blades, each and every quarter bringing proclamations of increases in production, increases in the standard of living, claims substantiated by the Ministry of Truth, yet belayed by the frequent and often illegal trade between party members and proles. Yet even where production does increase, it is not directed toward essential goods. Rather, they produce non-critical or military goods. Such goods were then utilized by the Ministry of Peace to wage Oceania's endless wars, consuming innumerable resources and lives, even as the Ministry of Truth trumpets imminent victory. This ubiquitous state media apparatus was responsible for not only presenting the media through a lens of the party's truth, but also engaged in historical correction and linguistic deconstruction. Through its propagandistic ventures, they have conditioned the public to accept two mutually contradictory statements as reality, a concept known locally as doublethink. Such is their success that the notion of doublethink permeates the party at all levels, and expectations exist that all members accept the state's truth. To stand apart and to recognize the contradictions for what they are is to make oneself a social pariah, and to find themselves subject to corrective actions from the Ministry of Love. The ultimate expression of this effort was the formulation of New Speak, an artificial language that has been purged of any content that may lead individuals to express thoughts contrary to the party. Perhaps the most feared of these ministries is the Ministry of Love, responsible for maintaining the vast state security apparatus, utilizing everything from telescreen broadcast to thought police patrols, all to ensure that every citizen is subject to being monitored without exception, with all nonconformists quickly identified and brought in, that they may be corrected. Society itself is equally divided, and at the core of this division lays the party itself, immutable and distinct from the proles beneath. The party is divided between an inner and an outer party. Nominally, this structure is meritocratic. In truth, the focus is more on promoting a state orthodoxy. The inner party stands as the elite of Oceanian society, responsible for party decisions on policy and governance. They are provided with quality, comfortable homes, access to foodstuffs, servants, and even their own personal transportation in the form of cars or helicopters. That is not to say they are above scrutiny. They are expected to conform to the party's image, and should they fail to accord themselves correctly, you could see the individuals condemned, labeled an enemy of the revolution, publicly shamed, or simply erased. The outer party, for its part, was responsible for the day-to-day operations of the state, educated just enough to perform whatever their task may be. Through this combination of political power and education, and recognizing that historically it was the middle class that made up revolutionary groups, it was this segment of the population that was most feared by those who held power, and as a result, they are under constant surveillance, subject to heavy monitoring for any signs of unorthodoxy or undue ambition. It could be said that there are no laws in Oceania, but plenty of crimes. As such, for members of the party, no action is strictly safe, and anxiety is the norm. Members of the outer party are expected to live inhuman lives, without feeling, without memory, without vice or vanity, to exist solely for the state. The vast majority of Oceania's citizenry reside in the lowest tier of the social strata, the proles. As a group, they hold no political power and are largely left to their own devices. The actions of the party have reduced the proles to uneducated beasts, their past destroyed by the Ministry of Truth, their future stolen away by the state, with their ranks regularly culled of promising individuals by the thought police. They exist solely within the present, driven by a desire for instant gratification, which the party happily supplies in the form of pornography, gambling, lotteries, and alcohol. In short, the proles live in brutal poverty, and as a group they have proven helpless, incapable, or unwilling to organize or find in themselves a will to lift themselves above their current station. They are not a threat to the party. The early history of the party and state have thoroughly been rewritten, and what remains may very well be Oceanian propaganda. Regardless, I shall include it here for the sake of completeness. In the aftermath of the Second World War, great nuclear conflagration broke out that destroyed hundreds of cities throughout North America, Europe, and Western Russia. It was during this conflict that two of the superstates would emerge. In the West, the United States would absorb the British Commonwealth and Latin America, forming Oceania. In the East, the Soviet Union would occupy mainland Europe, forming Eurasia. Early in the history of Oceania, a civil war would break out, with ideological groups fighting for control. By about 1958 or so, Ingsoc would assume command. Through the 1960s, the party purged its members of all original revolutionaries. It was during this time that Big Brother would first emerge. It is estimated that not long thereafter, the permanent wars would begin. Now, whether or not any of this is true, or a mere fabrication of the Ministry of Truth, for the denizens of Airstrip 1, as Britain is now known, the old world is well and truly gone.